Mark 135. I'm gonna read that scripture before I never finished my crisis management study, but I'm going to start with that this morning and finish that and add to it just a little bit maybe. Mark 135. Yeah, 135. Now in the morning, having risen a long while before daylight, he went out and departed to a solitary place, and there he prayed. There's the secret. There's the secret. Right there. Isn't that simple? It really is. And the tense of the verb prayed indicates a continued action, continuing action. It did, it wasn't just for brief moments. The ed on the end of prayed means continue. And he was successful in his ministry. In his life, he was successful at being able to conquer sin in his life. Not having sin and being perfected, he was successful because he planned for his time with his Father, and he got in a private place, and he stayed there for a prolonged time. He got up early enough, he got far enough away, and he stayed at it a long enough time. That is the formula for success, at having an overcoming life. No one overcame like Jesus. And yet here he tells us how he did it. We've got all kinds of yeah buts we put on that, but it don't hold water. That's how he did it. I want to get on here. I want to finish up my crisis management, my finding peace in the time of crisis, and I'm gonna teach to you three just like it's 103. You're gonna get the whole hayway, and we're taking it from Philippians 4 and verse 4 through 9. Those are the scriptures that give you the entire formula for peace. We've gone through those last couple of weeks, and it gives you each one. And I'm going to lead off here. Every one of us, when we're going through it, we have a tendency, we'll say, yeah, that doesn't work. That's what we say when we're filled with worry, fear, despair. The truth is that we cannot take any one of these things without the other. It's a complete formula. If you try to break bread, Charlotte, and you put everything in that bread except the yeast, it ain't going to turn out like you want, like you expect. And the Philippians 4, the pattern from verses 4 through 9 is the same way. You can't just take part of that. It's the whole deal. You got to understand all of it and do all of it. Each of these things we're talking about forms a whole. All these things are necessary ingredients to form the whole of the message. God is telling us what to do in the midst of a troubling state of affairs. He's telling us to focus on Him and others, to think about Him, to pray to Him, and to think about Him again. Paul says, and again. It's not enough to pray. Once we pray, then Paul says we're to force ourselves to think about the things of God and not what's bothering us. After we pray, after we give it to God, we are to force ourselves to think about God and the things of Him and not about those things that are bothering us. That's what we're to do. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying that's how you do it. That's what you do. But then he tells us here uh, to go on. It's not easy. That's why it's called the battle. But the way we fight is to change what we're thinking about. The battle is in our mind. The way we fight is to change what we're thinking about. You might say certain thoughts plague you because you're in a long-term dilemma that never seems to never end. I've been in that. And sometimes we are. Sometimes it's years. Years. Sometimes it's almost a lifetime. Yes, but you don't have to dwell on the difficulty. Reorient your focus on your thoughts. Reorient them, realign them, get them back in a God perspective. Paul says, finally, brothers, after you've done all that I've told you to do here in 4 through 7, he said, finally, whatever things are true, noble, just, pure, lovely, good report, anything of virtue, if there is anything, he says, praiseworthy, meditate on these things. How many of us, if we think that we could not find something praiseworthy? I think we all can. And we don't have to look very far. He said, that's what I want you to think on. That's what I want you to meditate on. Let that get in you. Let that fill you up. That meditation. Oh, that's so important. That's the message that I'm following up this with. Actually, it's part of it. And I take it one step further. The more you meditate on these things of God, and Paul says, the more you'll know God and His ways. You know that He is indeed working these things for good in your life. You know that the Lord God is a sun and a shield. Psalms 84 and 11. The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing will be withheld from those who walk uprightly. No good thing. My idea of a good thing and God's idea of a good thing might differ. If I walked out there and there's a brand new car sitting there, that'd be my idea of a good thing. I doubt that a brand new car is what's on God's mind for me. So let's don't get what things are good mixed up. We got to look at all of it from a God perspective. But there's one more thing. You've moved your focus now from your troubles to God and others. Our focus must be on God first and in others second. We're not even in the picture in our mind. We're not even to be in the picture. If we're in the picture in our mind, we got troubles. We're sad about what's not going right. Paul says now to make sure you keep doing that. Keep doing the things God has told you to do. The things which you learned and received and heard and saw me do, do these, and the God of peace will be with you. The God of peace. If you do what God is teaching you to do, you'll have peace. Don't overlook the nuance here that what Paul is saying here. Earlier, he said the peace of God will guard your heart. What's true, that's what we want. That is true. He will guard our heart. That is what we want. Remember that most often, when the Bible references our heart, that in our English now, that the heart it is referencing our soul, which is our mind, which affects our will, which affects our emotions. That's our soul. That's what the reference is to the heart here. But here he says the God of peace will be with you. That's even better. You get the peace. You get peace because you have the God of peace walking with you through the fire. Jesus was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. And he'll be with you in your fiery furnace as well. Daniel 3. You've all read the story. And they were at peace even though they didn't know whether God would actually keep them alive or not. That's what it says in Daniel 3, 17 and 18. They didn't know whether God would keep them alive. Yet they were mysteriously at peace. No, the guards even burned up trying to throw them in. All they knew was that God was with them and would see them through one way or the other. It was not them who were able to bear the flame. They had no idea what God would do, and were totally content in that what God would do was good. Can you imagine? I would be thinking, if I'm going to get thrown in here, my faith, if I place my faith in God, then I have got to be content in what He will do is good, not in that He will do what I think is good. And I can't imagine not knowing. First of all, verse 17 and 18 says they didn't know if they were going to die or He was going to spare them. They did not know. So that being the case, can you imagine the intense pain that they knew, they thought maybe they would face? Can you imagine? I can't imagine burning up, being thrown in there, and if you're only alive for a few seconds, I can't imagine what agonizing pain that might have been. But they didn't know. Yet they were at peace. That's the kind of peace I want to have. That's the kind of peace I want to have. They had no idea if they were going to live, and furthermore, they had no idea how bad, how intense the pain was going to be. Yet they were content. They were at peace. So what this tells us here is that what God would do, and we're totally content in what was good. So listen here. It was their faith that bore the fiery flames. Not them. Not them. I don't like pain. I don't like pain. But it was their faith in God. Now here's the kicker. Here's it. Faith should never be to orchestrate what God will do. Faith should never be, in my mind, well, I know God's going to spare me of this. They didn't know that. It says it in 17:18, verse 17:18. Their faith, they had no idea what was going to happen. They just knew, they had the confidence that God was with them. Our faith should never be to orchestrate what God is going to do. We have gotten in the church today, we have gotten to a place to where I'm believing for this, I'm believing for that. That's all good if what you're believing for is good, and if it lines up with God's will. That's all good. But we take it far too. We almost act as if we're the master and He's the servant. That ain't the way it is. That ain't the way it works. My faith should never be in a place where I try to orchestrate what God will do. I have confidence in what He'll do. No, I simply have confidence. My faith needs to be squarely, here it is, to accept with contentment what He will do. Not that I'm going to like it. Not whatever. But I must have enough confidence and faith in Him to know that what is right. And so if it's right, I must be willing to accept it. Him. No matter what I think should happen, no matter what I think would be better for me, He knows much more. So my faith should not be directed in what I think He's going to do. It should be directed to accept whatever He does. There's a big difference there. Big difference there. Make our faith directed toward accepting whatever He does. And if you don't do this, if you decide how or what God's going to do, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Because there's very few of us that know what God's going to do. Very few of us. We know what we'd like Him to do. But remember, He's the master. I'm the servant. I'm the creator. He's the creator. God never fails. Just know that. God never fails. And that's what you need to realize. God is with you and will see you through one way or the other. Either way. And that's not resignation or defeat. That's not just saying, oh, well, que sera, sera. No. No, no, no. Que sera, 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 whatever it is. That's okay, I'm going through this world and whatever happens to me, happens. No, que sera is not our attitude. We have the attitude that God is master. He is good. He is going to do what is good for me. It's an attitude of praise God. I know it's going to be the best result. I know how it's going to end. It's going to end good for me. That's not resignation to whatever will be, will be. That's resignation to the fact that God is in charge. And He loves me, and He will care for me the best that can possibly, for the best outcome that there can be in this world. That's confidence. Not in me, in God. God has a plan for you, and it's good. You walk with Him because He's walking with you. That's how you get peace in a really bad situation. That's how you get peace in a crisis. You got to take every one of those scriptures, just like I said a while ago, you're baking a cake and you leave out one ingredient, and it won't turn out like you want it to be. You got to take every one of those scriptures, Philippians 4 through 9, and it got to be a whole. It takes all of them to make a whole. You can say, well, I practiced thoroughly. I'm good with 3 of them or 4 of them. It ain't going to turn out like you want it to turn out, like God wants it to turn out. Then you got to take them all. It's an all or nothing thing. Now I want to get into, and that actually, I finally got through my one lesson there, how to find peace in a crisis. And most of you might have copies of this here. Maybe I pray, if you do, you've already read it and you already studied it, and I didn't even need to teach that. But I want to go now here. Here's where it is. Here's how we do it. Here's how I've learned to do it. And let me tell you this before I say, when I say I've learned to do it, I ain't got this thing down pat. Believe it or not, Charlotte, there's times when I think, oh man, I fight. I mean, I do. This thing's going on right now. Right now. The thoughts keep going through my head. But you know what I do? I keep chasing them out, putting them on God. They keep coming in, I keep putting them on God. They keep coming in, I keep putting them on God. That's the way I survive this thing with peace. That's the way I survive it with peace. Here it is. As I started off, Mark 1:35, the total formula. Now in the morning, having risen, a long while before daylight, he went out and departed to a solitary place, and there he prayed. There's the whole thing. Pray. Remember, as I said, the tense of the verb pray. He added the ed. Prayed. That means ongoing. He kept on. It wasn't just a little bit here and there. He prayed. Kept on with it. Kept on. It's not just it's a prayer life that was successful. It's the pattern that allowed Jesus to walk sinless on this earth. That is the secret that allowed him, because he knew where his help come from his Father. So I've got to stay in close contact with my Father. He got up early. He got far enough away from everybody and everything, his own secret place, and he stayed at it long enough. If that's an hour, if that's 2 hours, if that's 5 hours. If you do it an hour every day, you're going to benefit. But if you still find yourself fighting that same battle, then go 2 hours. Don't say, well, I'm going to work an hour later, get up an hour early. If 2 hours don't do it, go to 4 hours. Don't say I'm going to work 4 hours early or late. Get up early. It will work. It works. Sooner or later, you'll be able to where you can get into that realm quicker. That's the secret of it. Many years ago now, this is where I'm following up here. Here's the way I gave you the formula, Philippians 4 through 9. Now I'm going to tell you how to get into that formula, how to achieve that formula. Many years ago, I learned a spiritual discipline that literally changed my life. Literally changed my life. Keeping God first. The Bible says, seek ye first. God said, keep me first. First. That literally changed my life. When I began to understand, well, what does he really mean by first? Does he mean like first thing after breakfast? No, he said first. He said first. When I first opened my eyes before the world has a chance to paint me or put a bunch of stuff through my head, first. I learned this concept while I was lying in a hospital bed. I've been in the hospital about a month, 3 different hospitals. And it stuck with me forever. One of the most dynamic experiences that I've come to enjoy in my life is to have my time alone with God, to get away to a place of solitude and just pray. I highly recommend it to anybody that's desiring to know Jesus better. Here's the pattern that I try to follow. First of all, I would suggest that you break the time up. The time that you've got set aside for your time away. Break that time up into 2 key divisions. One for speaking and one for listening. One for speaking, one for listening. Up till this revelation, which was in 1988, up until this time, I spent most of my time speaking, doing all the talking. Speaking to God. Now here's the formula for speaking to God. The acronym is ACTS that I use. ACTS, ACTS. For the first division of your time, you can take time to pray according to the acronym ACTS. Each of these letters stand for a specific theme of your prayers to God. Each one of them. Adoration, then confession. Adoration first, then confession, then thanksgiving. What's last? Supplication, or asking for what we desire. Acts, ACTS, adoration, confession, thanksgiving, supplication. Divide these. You've already divided your whole prayer time, your whole time into 2 sections, speaking and listening. Now subdivide that first section into 4 sections into the acts. Begin it with adoration. A great way to begin your prayer is to spend some personal time in worship with the Lord. Sing, listen to worship music. Contemplate everything you can think of that makes God so great. Why is he so great? Contemplate everything that you can think of. Just adore him for it. Write down everything you can think of that demonstrates the awesome majesty of God. And then ponder the things that you've written. Contemplate the greatness of God while you are there before him. Adoration. The first letter of our subdivision. Confession. After your time of adoration, then take the time to confess to God any sin that you can think of in your life. I don't know how hard that is for some of us, to think of sins. It's not too hard for me. Any sins, and it don't have to be one of the big 10. It could be something that displeases God, displeases my Creator. He wants me to be like Him. So contemplate any sin. Asking, David said, search my heart, Lord, because there are many things. Most of us, especially habitual sin, things that we do all the time, every day, and have done for years, we're just in the habit of it, and we don't even realize it as sin. We don't even know it's wrong. Therefore, God, I ask you to show me. Search my heart. Then when you do, then I've got to follow my rules that what I have designated as integrity that I talk about. Integrity is first, speak the truth. Secondly, face the truth. Thirdly, do what's right solely because it's right. Face the truth is the hardest one. The easiest lie there is to tell is to myself. Is to myself. Why does that? Because the Bible tells me that. It says, my heart will deceive me above all things. That means even above Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or Terry or Jake. My heart, my own heart will deceive me above all things. How does that happen? It's what I'm thinking on again. It's what I'm thinking on. What I've decided that's good or bad, or what I have justified my wrongdoing by. So it's important that I ask God to search my heart. It's important that I don't just leave all the searching to me. I've got a bad habit of wanting to justify what I do. So it's important that I ask God to search my heart, and then it's important for me to face the truth. It's important then for me to accept what He's telling me, what He's showing me. Now, ask God for forgiveness. Ask Him for His forgiveness, and then ask Him to help you turn from those sins. So what good is it if I ask God to search my heart and He shows me and I accept it, but I don't do anything to turn from it? Say, God, I need your power. I need your authority. I think it's Micah 3:8. Explosive power. The power of a 38. That's how I remember 3:8. The power of a 38. Bang! Power. I need that power to change it. Give it to me, Lord. It's what I want. Because I want to be what you want to be. I want your peace. Now, we have gone in from adoration, our time in adoration. If you've designated an hour for this first session, let's say you designate 2 hours for the whole thing, just to make it easy here. If you've designated let's say 1 hour for the whole thing, then your first 7.5 minutes would be adoration, singing, praising, thinking of His awesomeness, His greatness. Then your next 7.5 minutes would be of confession. God, I'm sorry. Forgive me, help me change it. And if I can't think of anything right here, then show me, God. Because I know I'm not perfect yet. I want to be perfect as you told me to be. So show me, God. Give me the power. Then your next 7.5 minutes, you go to Thanksgiving. The T in Acts. Spend time thanking God for every blessing that you have in your life. Every one. I found it helpful to write these items down. I make a list that I look at from time to time. Write them down as they come to mind. And there'll always be some more come to mind. If we truly get our mind and our heart on Thanksgiving, no matter if my list is as long as the Chinese war debt, there'll be some more Thanksgiving things come to my mind. I want to write them down. Make a list and make it as exhaustive as you can. Don't leave anything out. Thank God for every single way He has blessed you and those around you, and your family members and others. Don't just thank Him for you. Thank Him for everything. Thank Him for our church. Thank Him for everything. Your brothers, your sisters, your husbands, wives, your children, grandchildren, whatever it be. Thank Him. That's the third 7.5 minutes. The fourth 7.5 minutes, the last 7.5 minutes of my talking, that's if I've allotted an hour for the entire thing here. I'm doing 7.5 minutes. If I've allotted 2 hours, it's 15 minutes. And you'll find it's not hard to go into the 15 minutes after you get it. Supplication. Then I began, after I've done all these other things, and I've got him fully, I'm focused in, I'm zeroed in. And then I began to ask for supplication. You'll find, let me tell you this, you'll find, if you're really zeroed in, that your wants, your supplication won't be, that list won't be as long as it was before you got zeroed in on him. You'll find that. Your supplication is what you want to ask him to do, ask him for. And there's plenty of it. So invest time into praying for every single person. This should be our supplication list, not for me. I'm last. I'm a servant. I'm a servant to him, and I'm a servant to you because you are his, and he wants me to take care of you, help do my part. So our supplication begins with every single person who is close to you in your life. Remember every family member, every co-worker, every friend, every neighbor, every church member that you can think of, and so on. Every prayer request. Write down the names of the people as you pray for them. Then this will help you think of others, that who should be on your list. Now, that's our fourth 7. Now we've gone through a half hour of that first hour, talking to him. By this time, by this half hour, if we truly started off by getting our mind focused on him, stayed on him, we started off adoring him, who he is. Now we know that he is the I am. We know that he is the most awesome high God. We know that. We started off that way. And then we started off by saying, God, cleanse me so I can be closer to you. I know you don't dwell with sin. I want to cleanse all that. Give me the way out of that so I can get closer to you. And God, thank you. Oh, I thank you. Yes, God, I see what you've done in the life of others, of my loved ones, my family, my church, my friends, me. Yes, God, I thank you for all that. I see all that. And then lastly comes God. I want Sister so-and-so healed. I want my son saved. I want this, I want that. Not me. Oh, God, take this pain away from my hip, from my knees. I prayed like that, and I could take up all the time if I wanted to, if I did what's natural with me, with my wants. But that ain't what he wants. That's what he didn't create me for that. He knows what my needs are. And you know what? If his plan is followed by the church, you're praying for my needs. You're praying for my hip. He's being bombarded for me. Why do I spend my time selfishly on me? Because he is being bombarded on my behalf by you, while I am praying on your behalf to him. That's the perfect plan. That's God's perfection. You know what that is? That's love. That's truly love. Truly love. There's a few people in my life. I can't honestly say it with honesty, that because I wouldn't know till I got in the situation about everyone. But I can say there's a few people in my life that I absolutely know I would have no trouble. I don't believe laying down my life for. But I can't say that yet honestly about everyone. That's where I want to come. But I gotta face the truth here. If I don't face the truth, what is there to face? If I don't face the truth, it's all fake. If it ain't true, it ain't. So I gotta face the truth. I got a ways to go. So now we've spent that first half of our set-aside time where we're away from everything, everyone, everything, every interference. we've spent that whole first half in our talking time to Him. If it's an hour, and I want to go over this because I want you to get it. If it's an hour, I spent that first 7.5 minutes on adoration, the acts. Then I spent the second 7.5 minutes on confession. I've spent the third 7.5 minutes on thanksgiving. I've spent the fourth 7.5 minutes on supplication. That's what I spent the first half on. Now, by this time, I should be fully tuned in. I should be fully tuned in to Him and who He is and who I am. So what better time then for me to spend for my listening time? See, that comes up. First, I speak to Him. Remember, divide your total time you got set up, divide it into two sections. Speaking, listening. Take that first section, divide it into subsections, then to the acts, and then take the next half for listening. Because by now, I should have my mind stayed on Him. I should be tuned in where I can hear that soft, still voice. I should be tuned in where I can hear that little whisper of wind going by. See, you got to prepare to hear. You got to prepare to hear. Be there to hear. This is likely to become the most important. You're listening. This is likely to become the most important life-changing experience that you will have in your entire time of prayer, in your entire Christian walk. I realized that in my own prayer life, up until the time that I received this revelation, many years in 1988, that I had always been the one who did all the talking, or most of the talking. Or I'd ask Him a question that I really already knew the answer was, what it was. I'd say something like, why? And I expect an answer and I wasn't hearing that. And sometimes it would depend on where I'm at. If I'm tuned in, if I'm fully into Him. Yeah. So I never stopped talking long enough to actually listen to God. Most relationships operate like that. If you have Terry, if you and Pam, if you operated in a relationship like that, where you've done all the talking and never listened, I can promise you it probably won't last very long. So you got to be able to fake listening. No, I'm kidding. But that's where relationships like that end up. You have to listen. You have to listen. Now, so you should assume that our relationship with God will struggle as well. My relationship with God will struggle as well if I'm the only one doing all the talking. If I don't do any listening to Him, it'll struggle because He'll say, "Shut up, son. Well, I'm telling you the answers. Listen. Get your mind stayed on me, son." Now our relationship won't be strong. Because if I don't hear Him, I'll say, boy, He don't have no input in this thing. I won't hear His input. So then, how do we go about listening to God? Here are some recommendations. Now, here's some things that I found. Here's some things that I do. I'm not saying this is the absolute formula, but this is what I do. I have expanded on these things. Some of these things I found, I seen written years ago somewhere, but I've expanded on them to make it personal to me here. I found that I've expanded on a bit of my own practice of listening. When I get to the listening portion of my prayer, after spending time going through the vital sections of Acts, ACTS, don't forget that's got to be first. You've got to get in that frame of mind where you're tuned. You're tuned in. Exactly. You get that radio dial, the old AM radios. You get that focused in. You can be just a little bit to one side, a little bit. You can kind of hear it, but it's all fuzzy and cracking. But boy, when you get her zeroed in, right in on that, you're zeroed in, your focus, man, is crystal clear. crystal clear. That's the way we've got to be. So then I take out my notepad and I write these things on top of separate pages. I got some pages that I keep them written on. Here's the things I write. What I'm listening for. This is what I'm in my listening part. All right, what's the next step in my journey with God? All right, what's the next step for my family? What is the next step in my ministry? What's the next step in my career? What's the next step in my finances? What is the next step in my education? What is the next step in my relationships? There are some of these things that I don't hear anything. It's not, I don't just sit down and begin to listen and God speaks to me on every one of those things. Sometimes He might. Sometimes He does and can. But I want to have those headers out there. I want to have it laid out there so that when He speaks to me on one of them, I can write it down. I don't know about you, but my memory is really going. So I want to write it down. That's why I write so much. I've got the phone with me now. I'm all the time making notes when I listen. So I write those. Now sometimes I'll add more pages. He might speak to me on something totally different that I haven't written down here. So that's when my list gets longer. I'll add more pages to the headings like these, and sometimes I'll have fewer pages. But after I have these pages ready with these questions at the top, I then just stop talking. Just stop talking. You will find that if you stop that if you stop to listen to the Lord, meditate on Him, He will speak. See, if you're tuned in, you'll hear that clear channel WSM clear. If you're tuned in, He'll speak. That's where the meditation is every bit as important as the first part. The adoration, the confession, the thanksgiving, the supplication. Because you've done all that, now it's time to hear what He has to say about all of it. See, if I just done all that and walked away from it, so what? I want to hear what the meditation is the most important part of it. That's the part that changes your life. He will speak. He will begin to flood your heart with ideas around each of these questions. He may focus on just one or two of these areas of your life. Or He may broaden it to many subjects that you've listened to. Of course, sometimes God will not speak as you want. Uh-oh. Sometimes God will not speak as you want. Remember, my faith is not that I can orchestrate what God will do for me, but my faith is to accept and be content with what He does for me. What time is it? Am I going over? Huh? 17. Oh, well, I'm going to hold up there. I don't want. This is critical. This is critical. This is how we get it done. Yes, sis.
So Frank, my company sent me to Boston this week to teach.
Yeah, I know.
To teach me this.
To teach you.
To be honest.